So this is 5 more mistakes that animators make. See if you can relate to any of these mistakes. Hey guys, so a while ago I made a video about 5 mistakes that new animators make. Quite a lot of people saw it and could relate to it, so I thought, well, I have more ideas than that. I have about at least 5 more ideas, so I decided to make this follow-up video. Number 1, just winging it when it comes to the animation process. Instead of planning it beforehand and going through a sequence of steps to get to your animation, instead just kind of improvising the whole thing. With animation you can improvise, and sometimes it's good to improvise. Sometimes it makes sense to just try things and be spontaneous. But if you want a reliable method of success with your animation, the more work you do with the planning and preparation, studying reference footage, I feel like 90% of people's problems would actually be solved if they followed a clear step-by-step strategy with an emphasis on pre-production and preparation. Now, in fact, I've actually made a checklist which you can download for free on animatorguild.com, and this takes you through my step-by-step process of creating an animation. It's called the Animators Checklist. It's a PDF document where you can tick the boxes as you go through the different stages of an animation. If you follow each one and you work hard at each of these steps, you are very likely to create a good animation. Whereas if you just sort of leave it to your own whims and your own impulses at the time, you're likely to miss out very major steps of the animation process, and that might lead to your animation not being quite as good. So I'll leave that link in the description or up here in one of the corners, probably that corner. Number 2, thinking that gear is the most important thing. It's not the most important thing, guys. Like, once you've got your gear, stop obsessing over it. There was amazing animation being made long before computers were ever a thing. It doesn't make sense to believe that great animation is the product of a great software. Software has something to do with it a lot of the time. It can influence the properties of an animation. Don't think that great animation is the product of a more sophisticated software. Don't think that you aren't capable of making great animation because you don't have the most up-to-date software either. And the most important influence over the visuals of an animation are going to be from up here. So number 3, and this is one that I am very guilty of. Number 3 is hoarding animations without releasing them. I have quite a lot of nearly finished animation that I'm still waiting for the time to release. It's usually at about like 90% or 95%. It's all there, it's all ready, but you just need that last push to get it over the finish line. This usually comes about when you have a deadline for a project, and so you just have to skip some things at the last stage, but then you're kind of not willing to put it out there before it's ready, and the time never really comes for you to finish it, so you end up just having it on your hard drive. No one's watching it, no one's enjoying it, and doesn't help anyone that way. So I'm really trying, now that it's 2020, I'm really trying to get some of them out there, these animations that are like 95% finished but not quite ready to release. So what I've done to change this is I realized I'm never going to get a spare few weeks unless I schedule it into my year, into my calendar. So I've set aside a few weeks in my calendar to just tackle those almost finished animations, get them over the finish line and publish them. This isn't to say that you should finish every project you start. Sometimes it is worth letting go of old projects which you've maybe outgrown, or just so that you can move on to bigger and better things. But if you're anything like me, you do have a few animations which it's probably worth finishing them and getting them out there, because you don't want to waste the time that you've spent on them. Number 4 is failing to make the animation presentable, or you could see it as failing to promote your animation. And this is like falling at the last hurdle. So like, you've slaved over this animation, you put so much time and care into it, and then you neglect the thumbnail and title, so very few people watch it, or you fail to promote it on social media. And I know that at the end of a project you're exhausted and you just want to get it out there, you're very tired of it. You might even be thinking, oh, I just want this to be finished now. But it really is worth giving it that last extra push. So yeah, make those last little fixes, make a really nice thumbnail, give it a thoughtful title, and push it out there onto your social media. Let the film reach the people it needs to reach. Number 5 is not taking your own artwork seriously. Now, this is something that I see a lot of beginners do, and it always makes me cringe. Not everyone does it, but I do see it a lot with beginner animators, and oh man, like if you're ripping on your own animation, you're being like, oh, this is a piece of junk, that like if you've titled your animation something like dumb animation, stupid dumb animation I made in a day, LOL. I think a lot of the time this doesn't really help the artist. Like, you can even see this in really amazing artists. Yeah, maybe he's just being humble, maybe it's just a joke, maybe it's just his shtick, but this kind of thinking can affect your mind over time and lead to self-esteem issues, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you don't take your artwork seriously, then are other people likely to? If you're self-sabotaging, if you think that your work is no good, and then you start believing it, you start not wanting to take on opportunities, you stop promoting your artwork, and it just leads to this negative spiral. So let's feel good about our work. Like, when we work really hard on something, we make something for other people, let's celebrate that, let's enjoy it and feel good about ourselves. Like, if you've worked hard on something and you've finished it, you can hold your head up high. Okay, so that is my 5 extra mistakes that animators make. Let me know if you resonate with any of these points. I think I particularly resonate with number 3, but I think all 5 of these, at some point I've had to battle them. They have been things that I think every artist overcomes at some point. And if you have any points you would add to this list, if you have noticed any mistakes that a lot of animators make, you can leave them down in the comments and I'd be interested to read them. And remember that you can download my free PDF animation checklist. Also, if you want to support me in any way, you can follow the link to my Patreon and support me on Patreon. Thank you to everyone who's currently supporting me on Patreon. The link is in the description to that. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.